cases or suits are filed in court, they're filed in court, and as far as I'm concerned, that's the place for us to deal with them. I don't think that it is helpful to try anybody in the press. I don't think it's helpful for me to go back and forth with what he said or didn't say, or, you know, I don't think that that's helpful. So it's really not something I'm going to engage in. And I appreciate that people want to know, but gossip and things like that are probably just not helpful. And certainly not when what we really want to deal with is a Day of Atonement, you know, which is about all of us having issues like this and all of us wanting to heal our community and heal our people. You know, more than anything, what I would like to share with your viewers is, first of all, I'd like to just thank any and every person there who has prayed for me and prayed for my son and prayed for my family. I thank you for your prayers, and I thank you for your faith in us. And I'd also just like to say that I'm not the only one who's lost a child. I'm not the only one who's lost a son. And that is a problem for us. It's a problem that, as far as I'm concerned, I know a lot more people who have died from gunshot wounds than I know who have died from lung cancer. I am very, very upset that we are dying at the rate that we're dying at because we can't handle our anger towards each other. Really, those are the things that I would just more like to speak to.
I want to pick up on that very thought. Give me 30 seconds and I promise I'll come right back to that. I want to pick up on the thought that you just put forth about the crime in this particular generation. Many people see this generation of young black folks as a generation that is self-destructing. And I want to ask you a question about that in 1 second, if you'll indulge me one brief moment here to ask you whether or not, I shouldn't say whether or not, or well, I'll leave it at that. Are you at all bothered by the fact that there hasn't been much new evidence, there hasn't been much cooperation in solving this crime of who killed your son over the last year?
I am bothered by the fact that there are thousands of young black children who have been murdered in this country, and no one is trying to find the murderers of any of those children.
Okay.
Do you understand? It's systemic. These are systemic issues and problems. Tupac Amaru should be at least an indication that it happens throughout our community. Tupac was killed in September. In November, Yafeo was killed. In January, a woman that I know had a child, Giovanna, was murdered. Everybody that I know has someone in their family or in their immediate area who's been killed. And this is an issue that doesn't just have to do with finding, if you find tomorrow the killer of Tupac, it will not solve these problems for all of us. And it's all of us that we have to be concerned about, not just one person. And let me just say that for all of you, Tupac Amaru lived his life. Don't worry about Tupac. May we please worry to some extent about the children who are left here and are in danger right now, today. I am concerned about them.
That's right. That point is well taken. Let me follow up on that as I promised and get your comments a little further then. There are many people who suggest that the death of Tupac and the death of Biggie Smalls are indicative of a generation that is, in fact, self-destructing. What are your thoughts about whether or not we are witnessing a generation of young black kids self-destructing in front of our eyes?
Good question. I myself believe that it is a generation of a family self-destructing. I am unclear how we can separate our children from ourselves. Our children are not self-destructing. We are self-destructing. The responsibility is primarily ours. It is our children's, but it is mostly ours, and we have to take responsibility for it. It's not just a portion of our family that is dying. Our family is dying.
Afeni, I want to bring in just a moment our other guest, who you know, obviously, Anton, and your nephew, Kenny, down in Atlanta. Before I do that, let me squeeze in a couple calls. As you know, we're, of course, live across the country. A lot of folks want to talk to you. Let me go to Paul in North Carolina. Paul, thanks for holding. You're on BET tonight with Afeni Shakur.
Yes, sir. Peace to you, Brother Smiley, and peace to you, Sister Shakur, and welcome back.
Thank you.
Just wanted to see what steps you would suggest in combining or bringing together the so-called hip-hop generation and the true warriors from the 60s and 70s, like yourself and Brother Geronimo Jajaga. I know that one thing we're doing, my organization, the Amani organization, the Inspiring Men to Act Against Negative Influences in Durham, North Carolina, we're having a hip-hop conference later on this week, but I want to know what specific things we should address in that conference, and if you could just give us some words of wisdom, we'd appreciate it. Peace be unto you.
Peace and respect, brother. Really, I appreciate what you all are doing, and I'd just like to say that I believe that across this country, people are doing many things like that that is helping our community in that effort. So I would just encourage, people wherever they are to continue to do the work that they are doing on a one-to-one, day-to-day basis with our families. And wherever work is being done, and it's being done intergenerationally, for me, I believe that that is where we have hope. And I am not a leader. I do not have a roadmap for people. What I really do have is my sincere, heartfelt, I will share anything I have to try to help in the work that you are doing. I think that all of us have something to offer, and that's the whole point. As a family, we can get through this, and if we encourage this brother's work, if we encourage the work of the Day of Atonement and all of the little organizations, imagine all of the groups of people who are participating in this day, those people in their communities, they are doing work.
Afeni, I hate to cut you off. I got to take a break here.
Okay.
Stand by a second. As you can see, we are pleased tonight to be joined by the mother of Tupac Shakur, Afeni Shakur. We have other guests who we'll get to in just a second. More of your phone calls. You're watching the premiere edition of BET Tonight. Stay with us.
As far as the negativity, yeah, I mean, we've seen, I think, about enough of that, and I think that goes for even the certain characters who portray that lifestyle and those lyrics. I mean, we just lost two of the greatest individuals in the culture, and I think that that put a blow to everybody. So hopefully that sends a message more to us than anything else that, okay, the fun is fun, but that's it,
Tupac, it seems it's all that's on my mind. Cause at the same time, it seems they trying to take mine.
Welcome back to BET Tonight. I'm Tavis Smiley. This is our second season of our live weeknight talk show. As you know from last year, those who those who stayed with us last year, our show was a half an hour. A few changes around here. One of the best changes we think is that our show now is a full 1 hour, and I neglected to say that to you at the top of the show. So we're here for 1 hour now for the next year. So we're glad you stayed with us last year, and we're glad you're here tonight on the premiere edition of BET Tonight. We are joined tonight by the mother of the late Tupac Shakur. Afeni Shakur joins us live from L.A. We're joined from Atlanta by his cousin Kenny Lassane, and we're joined here in studio tonight by Brother Anton Muhammad, a close family friend. Brother Muhammad, let me use that as a segue to come to you. Thanks for coming on the show tonight.
Thank you, brother.
It's good to see you. Let me ask you to talk more specifically about this Day of Atonement. Afeni talked about it earlier, but I know you're specifically involved in the work of setting up this Day of Atonement.
Yes, sir. First and foremost, I would like to, just bring up a personal statement to thank Sister Afeni Shakur and the work that she's doing, and to also let all of her detractors and those who may want to come against her, to let her know that, and let everyone know that she is not alone, that she has the force of Almighty God, Allah, behind her, and also an entire nation, the Nation of Islam, backing her as well, and all the power that comes with that. Sister, we have your supreme support and back, and we will not allow anything to happen to you, and we are with you for the long haul. And in reference to the event, the name of the event is Rap in the Name of Black. I am one of the co-sponsors, along with my three other affiliates, Riyando Muhammad, Brother Akil Muhammad, Regional Mid-Atlantic Captain for the Nation of Islam, and Brother Brian Muhammad, President and CEO of Twin Towers. Minister Farrakhan is going to speak and address a multitude of young people, this lost Generation X, on October 13th. 1997, and this is going to act as a promo for October 16th, which is a commemoration of the Million Man March, the World Day of Atonement, to bring peace to these troubled times of young people that at this point people have called Generation X'd out. And we're using this as an opportunity to bridge the gap and solve the solution of youth violence. And in reference to Ms. Shakur's involvement, she is right now, after Tupac left is the godmother of the hip-hop world, and now is mother to millions of young, wayward youth out there looking for the same situation that brought her into prominence, being a normal mother who's experienced pain through the deaths of young children and acts as a perfect representative.
Kenny in Atlanta, how are you this evening?
Okay, sir, how are you?
I'm doing the best I can. Thanks for coming on. We mentioned earlier that you are one of Tupac's cousins.
Yes,
you
sir.
grew up with Tupac. Let me ask you, Brother Muhammad here mentioned two words that I found interesting. He said that this generation was lost and that this generation was troubled. Do you think in any way that Tupac represented any of that? What are your thoughts specifically on this generation that Tupac was a part of?
My thoughts on this generation that Tupac was a part of is that Tupac was very important in the roles of a lot of our lost youth today. Our lost youth looked up to Tupac, and they seeked him for guidance and for help. And Tupac gave them that, but Tupac gave it to them in his own way, which was a strong way, because he didn't know no other way to come except strong and rebellious. So that's where Tupac fit into me as his role in this society.
Let me digress for a moment, back up and ask you, what are your fondest memories of having grown up with Tupac? Most of us, of course, got to know him later on in life. You spent time with him hanging around and playing as kids. What are your fondest memories of Tupac?
Well, my fondest memories of Tupac were the fact that he was a great clown at pranking. He was a prankster. He was a very, very funny, articulate, very happy, and just a very bright and happy and strong young man. And when he came into his adulthood, he became a very strong soldier and warrior, and a person that all people on this earth should look up to, because Tupac was one who stood up for himself and for his rights and for what he believed. And he was one who took the burden that so many of us black men in this country shy away from, the burden of taking over and leading his people and trying to give a voice to his people. So that's what Tupac did.
Let me respectfully, before I go to the phone calls, we got a lot of folks backed up on the phone calls. We got to get some calls in just a second. But let me go back to a question that I respectfully asked of Tupac's mother, Afeni, earlier, and see if and get your take on it if I can. As you well know, there have been a lot of distortions, a lot of rumors, a lot of innuendo, a lot of misrepresentations about Tupac. As one who knew him best, is there a particular misrepresentation, something that you hear consistently about Pac that bothers you the most, that eats you up every time you hear it?
One in particular that just popped in my mind is a lot of the stigmas that they put on Pac. And I'm going to go to what my aunt said. You know, I don't think that's real important, you know, because they're going to always put labels and stigmas. But the thing that eat me up about it, about some of the things they put on Pac, one of them was the rape. I know Pac personally too much, and I know he was never like that. He would never rape nobody. And then a lot of other things that they put on Pac, he was never like that. A lot of things that they said about Pac, he was just the opposite. So it was because of the media and the way the world goes that make it so that we have this problem where we're talking like this now.
All right, let me go to a break. When we come back, we'll get right to those phone calls I talked about just a moment ago. I know many of you are holding. Be patient. I promise you, when we come back, we'll go right to your calls. You're watching BET Tonight on Black Entertainment Television. Stay with us.
So hopefully the hip-hop world and the nation or whatever has waken up, you know, to realize we don't need to be violent like that. We need to just get together, because we trying to build this rap thing, this hip-hop thing, to be this empire, you know what I'm saying? If we keep knocking down the bricks like Biggie and Tupac, then we won't have no foundation. So we got to keep it together and get united, you know what I'm saying?
Enjoy the show.
Thank you.
Mr. Shakur, I would like to congratulate you and commend you for your struggle. I have two comments. Even though I didn't know Tupac physically, I can relate to some of the things he was going through. He will be greatly missed and remembered. The second comment is on the excerpt with Orlando Anderson. I think he had a big part to play with Tupac's death, because he said that he was the victim. But yes, he is the victim and he's alive, but Tupac is dead. I just would like to say, may God bless you and keep your head up.
Thank you for your phone call, Natalie in Georgia. Let's move to North Carolina to talk to Anthony. Anthony, thanks for holding. You're on BET Tonight.
Hi, I would like to say hello to the BET panel. Mr. Shakur, I have two questions for you. First of all, I recently read that Jasmine Guy was trying to acquire the rights to your life story. I wanted to know, did she acquire those rights? And also, for the loss, they showed the videotape. Excuse me, I'm sorry, but they showed the videotape of your son also beating. Involved in the beating of the young gentleman, and I want to know, how did you feel about seeing your son being involved in violence? I also believe that you put out positive vibes, you receive positive vibes, you put out negative vibes, and you receive negative vibes.
Anthony, let me give Ms. Shakur a chance to respond to that.
Yes.
Afeni?
Oh, and the first question, I think, was about Jasmine. Jasmine has always had the rights to my life story, and thank God she does. She's a woman of integrity, and I'm looking forward to working with her on the project. And
hello?
You assumed that I saw something that I didn't see. I wasn't watching the videotape. I did not hear Mr. Anderson speak. And actually, as I said, I would really like to speak more about the living and atonement. Tupac Amaru Shakur does not need any of our acceptance, or he doesn't need it from us. You know, he lived his life, and he did a wonderful, wonderful thing with the 25 years that he had. If more of us did as much as Tupac did with his 25 years, just take 1 second and imagine what all of our lives would be like. So,
all right. McBride in Florida, thanks for holding. You're on BET tonight.
Yes, I have two questions, but first I wanted to say that the rap game truly lost. It was a tremendous loss for the rap game. And my first question is, how do you feel about C. Dolores Tucker and her outrageous lawsuit against Tupac and one of his lyrics, and the 170 unreleased tracks? Do you plan on making a CD or, doing anything with those tracks? Is Death Row going to let you have them, or what?
The death row issues have been resolved, and as a matter of fact, there's a lot of music that's going to be available in the coming year. Prayerfully, the first music will come out in November, and after that, on a schedule, there should always be Tupac music. Tupac was extremely prolific, so we're all very lucky and blessed. As it relates to C. Dolores Tucker, who has also sued Tupac, I think that those are issues that will be dealt with in court. I would love to see the discovery issues in the case, but other than that, I can wait for court. I'm okay with it.
Okay. Molly in California, thanks for holding. You're on BET tonight. Molly, are you there? We lost Molly. Let me come back to you, Afeni. I know you've been kind enough to be with us. This book that we mentioned earlier in our package has been released by, I think, a writer named Kathy Scott. The book that came out over the weekend is the book that shows an autopsy photo of Tupac. Isn't that like out of bounds?
I think every human being, there's no reason for me to even have to answer this question, mostly because I think that if you're a human being, and I'm sure that you all know how I feel, and there's no point in moaning and crying about it on TV. The fact of the matter is, it is released. There's nothing I can do about it, and so, I learned to accept things the way they are and not dream about the way they should be. Prayerfully, we will do the work in working towards the Day of Atonement and work in the future. We will do the work to make ourselves better human beings and better people, and prayerfully publishing companies will know that this is not like something that we want to see. But until we do the work, there's no point in us whining about it. It's here. I accept life as it is.
As I mentioned earlier, I had a chance to talk to you on the phone today, and now being able to watch you on this monitor here, at least via satellite from L.A., it's very clear to anybody watching that you are dealing with this in a very, for lack of a better word, stellar or stoic way. And I'm wondering what it is about you, or where it is that you find the strength to deal with this. I mean, I've asked you a number of questions, and you brushed a lot of them off. You don't want to waste your time talking about them. You really are on another plane, dealing on with another agenda. Where do you get that sense of strength from?
The grace of God, primarily. The grace of God, and also I've had the good fortune of having been a drug addict, and having been, by the grace of God, I've been in recovery, and through my recovery process, I have learned how to live one day at a time, trusting and leaning in God, and I've learned to do the right thing my own self on a daily basis to the best of my ability. And I think that that is what God requires from each one of us, to do the best that we can and to have good and open hearts. And basically that's how I get through my day. I think that God takes care of wrath, revenge, and things like that. That's not my responsibility. My responsibility is to be available to help the person who is living and in need today.
All right. Yvonne in Pennsylvania, we thank you for holding. You're on BET Tonight with Afeni Shakur.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Mrs. Tavis and Mrs. Shakur. I'm a Latino woman, and I support Mrs. Shakur because she is a woman that has a very strong character, and I really admire her for that. And we also admire Tupac's lyrics, and I think they will be heard, through years and years to come. And we admire him, and specifically the Latino community support her and him, and we love Tupac. God bless you, Mrs. Shakur.
Thank you so much. And peace to all our Latino brothers and sisters, because as Tupac loved all of his people, and he thought he was a universal human being. So thank you if you recognize and embrace that.
Yvonne, thank you for your phone call. Kenny, you still with me down in Atlanta?
Yes, sir.
Let me ask you, as I understand it, I know our time is running short here, but let me ask you, as I understand it, you were the subject of, in that video, I Ain't Mad At You, that was a big hit for Tupac. Tell me about the video and about the story and the role that, the part of your life that it portrays with Tupac.
Well, first of all, I don't know where that information came from. That could be me or it couldn't be me. The fact is, that song was pointed at, I think, everybody. And it didn't have to do with nobody in particular. That's my opinion. I don't know if he was talking about me or not, but I don't think so, no.
You don't think he was talking about you in the song?
No.
Okay. Brother Anton, let me ask you, what specifically would you say, you're involved, as you mentioned earlier, in organizing this Day of Atonement. What specific challenge would you issue to those young persons, those fans of Tupac we've referenced so many times tonight, who are still upset, still bothered by this? What role, what suggestion do you give to them for how they ought to express, to vent, to put that anger and that angst, certainly 1 year later, to some kind of positive outcome?
Well, first and foremost, we're going to have a conference to deal with those particular issues facing the young brothers and sisters in the hip-hop world, especially some of the traumas that's going on with the entertainers who have been robbed by the industry itself and who have created the machinations that have allowed these particular images to be portrayed to the youth and to be put out in a way that has allowed us to react other than ourselves. Now, the participation, that's going to take place at D.C. Armory October 12th. The participation that we want the brothers and sisters to do is to come out, support the event October the 13th, which is the commemoration for the World Day of Atonement, which the theme is Young, Gifted, and Atone, so they can begin to atone their differences, find new ways of how to deal with their particular situations. And we're calling on the rappers to come out and support this event heavily, and that they all make an appearance to show the world that they are not these beasts that are marketed to the world. They're not the enemies of black people, but they are friends of black people, and that their messages can be used for the benefit and betterment of our people.
On that note, we will break. Anton, thanks for joining us. We appreciate Brother Muhammad.
Thank you.
Kenny, thanks for coming on. Good to see you, man.
Thank you.
We appreciate you taking time to talk to us.
Peace. One love, Afeni.
We will thanks to Afeni Shakur, I should say, also, who had to leave. We thank Ms. Shakur for taking the time to talk to us on what must be clearly a very difficult time as we talk about the life and times of one Tupac Shakur 1 year later. BET Tonight will continue in just a moment. Stay with us.
And welcome back to BET Tonight. As we continue our look at the late Tupac Shakur, BET Tonight correspondent Corey Moore tries to dispel some of the ugly rumors circulating about Tupac.
The blind stares of a million pairs of eyes, looking hard but won't realize that they will never see.
There have been a lot of rumors floating around, and we need to set the record straight.
The rumor mill has been just rampant, as I said.
These rumors are unfounded.
Rumors In the years since rapper Tupac Shakur's death, you've heard them all. Or have you?
First they say he was dead at the hospital, then they say he just walked out the hospital.
What are some of the rumors that you've heard about Tupac?
That he's still alive.
You believe him?
Yeah, I believe him.
I've heard, he's really just hanging around in L.A. in somebody's basement. There's all kinds of rumors about Tupac.
But why do people believe Tupac is still alive? Perhaps the biggest reason, his last CD, entitled Machiavelli. In ancient times, Machiavelli was an Italian philosopher who suggested the best way to escape your enemies, fake your own death. Could Tupac have done this? A San Francisco radio station says more than 500 of its listeners said they saw Tupac in Cuba. Or was it really Cuba? So where do you think he is now?
Hiding out somewhere in Jamaica somewhere. Chilling. Chilling, smoking bobs, drinking.
If you're into numbers, Tupac's death should be an even bigger mystery. Take a look at some information from a Detroit News article. It indicates Tupac was shot 7 months after his All Eyes on Me CD hit the record stores. He was shot September 7. Add the digits of his age when he was shot, and they add to 7. Even the precise time of his death, 4:03, adds to the number 7. And the subtitle of his Machiavelli album is The 7-Day Theory.
He's gone, and we as a people need to remember it, but at the same time, move on.
But still, there are other questions that may give cadence to the rumors surrounding Tupac's death. Tupac Shakur, according to his entourage, always wore a bulletproof vest. But why didn't he wear one the night he was shot? Some even question whether Tupac was really cremated the day after he died, reportedly before an autopsy could be conducted. Why were plans for a big public funeral all of a sudden scratched? And why weren't pictures of Tupac, supposedly taken in the hospital, never released? And now, a year after his death, a new book hits the shelves by Las Vegas Sun-Times reporter Kathy Scott. It's entitled The Killing of Tupac Shakur. The book delves into Tupac's ill-fated death, but the most stunning page may finally put to rest some of the rumors once and for all. It includes what appears to be a possible autopsy photo, which BET opted not to show because of its graphic nature. And still, some are buying into speculation that Tupac Shakur was killed because of an East versus West Coast rivalry, or that Tupac's closest friend, Death Row Records president Suge Knight, set the rapper up.
Rumors are what people live for. The National Enquirer, so on, so people live for rumors, and we need to let that go. Let this man rest in peace and move on.
For BET Tonight, I'm Corey Moore.
Rest in peace, young nigga. Is Tupac being exploited in death? That's the subject of tonight's Point Counterpoint.
Do I think Tupac Shakur is being exploited in death? I certainly do. Not so much creatively, but legally. Since his death, he's had about 10 lawsuits filed against his estate. He had a couple before he died, but since then about 10 filed against the estate. And the most glaring ones are the ones filed by his father, who he always said he never had much of a relationship with, and by C. Dolores Tucker, who's been sort of rap's biggest enemy. And in her lawsuit, she says that she and her husband have not been able to have sex because of one of Tupac's songs. And the funny thing about it is that that song was out months and months before he was actually killed. So, it's clear that a lot of people have been told that now's the time to get money from him because he's dead.
My answer to the question whether or not Tupac Shakur is being exploited in death is twofold. No and yes. I answer no in that he's a public figure, and he was a public figure who summarized it himself, all eyes on me. He loved and hated being a member of this public, but at the same time, he's a voice of a generation. He spoke for those who couldn't speak, and as a result, his music is in demand from everywhere, and he has thousands and millions of fans. I would say that, yes, he is being exploited because, like Bob Marley and Jimi Hendrix and Charlie Parker and other figures that died before their time, his legal affairs weren't in order, and so he's ripe to be picked by the Billy Garlands and C. Dolores Tuckers of the world. The only peaceful resolution to this is that his family gained control of his estate, and that after that's cleared up, his fans, can purchase these records that they so demand.
In tonight's Spotlight, fans of the late Tupac Shakur should be on the lookout for the movie Gang Related.
This is who you picked. This is who you fucking picked. You picked a surgeon who performs transplants on the poor in Africa.
He was living on the fucking streets. How the hell I was supposed to know he was a damn doctor?
Oh, he's not a fucking doctor. You picked a saint to pin a murder on.
This was Tupac's last role in a major motion picture before his untimely death. He portrays a corrupt cop alongside actor Jim Belushi. The movie also stars Lela Rochon and James Earl Jones. The editors of Vibe magazine recently released a tribute book to the slain rapper. The title simply Tupac Shakur. It's a compilation of Vibe articles and features more than 100 pictures. That's Spotlight. I'm Cheryl Martin. We'll be back with more BET Tonight right after this.
Just enough time to tell you thank you for following us all last year. Thank you for being here tonight for our premiere edition of BET Tonight. As we told you, we are now a full 1 hour. Tomorrow night, we will have the family and the attorney of Abner Louima. You've been following this case in New York about this brother brutally sodomized by the police department. We'll talk to his family tomorrow night on our show. Cheryl, what's up in the news tomorrow night?
We will be looking at another incident of alleged police brutality, but this one in Baltimore. And also in Spotlight, singer Vanessa Williams.
All right. That's all tomorrow night on BET Tonight. We thank you for being here tonight. I, of course, will talk to you tomorrow morning, as always, on the Tom Joyner Morning Show. We appreciate your being here tonight. And until tomorrow night, keep the faith.